All right, guys. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get the 4K stream here, but hey, it is what it is, right? So we're just going to keep it moving. We'll keep going and we'll go from there. All right, cool. Good, great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus. Awesome. Let's do this. Putting the headset back in and uh and we'll keep it going. All right. So here we go. Setting it up. All right. So, what is going on in the comedy world? Pedro Pascal hosted Saturday Night Live this weekend. Not sure if you guys tuned in. Gotta love the guy. I don't know him that well, but what I do know, I like him. Obviously, if you don't know, he is the guy who plays the Mandalorian, right? So, good old Mando and Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, if you're a Star Wars fan. I am the droid. As you guys may or may not already know, I've been the droid my whole life. My last name is Oldroyd. Good, great, grand, wonderful. So, Pedro hosted. I thought he did a good monologue. He's a likable fella. So, I'm not going to break down the sketches this week like I did in the past, but I did think about going to the live recording when I was in New York this weekend. Didn't have time, was busy doing my own comedy career stuff, but I did have a show actually. So I did have a show right when they were recording actually. I think it was a 10 o'clock show Saturday night. So I couldn't have gone, but I do know the process to try and get a ticket day of. And for those of you who probably want to know if you have a trip coming up, at least last time, you want to check the NBC Saturday Night Live website. However, last time I checked, I'll quickly say that the process entailed getting in line early before 7 a.m. or waiting. Some people camp out a couple of days in advance. It depends on who's hosting. So if first, like Dave Chappelle's hosting, sometimes people will camp out, 2, 3, 4 nights to get a place in line for a chance to get a ticket to the show. They call it a standby ticket. So at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, the pages come out. The people that work for Saturday Night Live, the interns, if you will, come out. They get names, and then you come back that night, wait in line again, and then once they've filled the crowd with the people who have tickets or guaranteed tickets to the show, it's almost like standby. Like when you go to the airport and you hope to get a flight on your plane, if you're trying to get like an earlier flight out. So you have to stand or camp out for a chance to get a ticket, like a standby ticket, and then you may get through. And I've tried it a few times. I've been to one recording of Saturday Night Live. So that was when John Cena hosted. And since I was in New York, I actually did think about going, but I ended up doing comedy instead myself. And you can't be at two places at once, am I right? So that's that. What else is going on in the comedy world? I already kind of talked about a lot of the things trending in entertainment right now, as well as the Grammys that transpired. I need to get my musical comedy album out because you never know. Once it's out there, you could get a Grammy for something. I don't know. So that'd be cool. So yeah, that's my comedy world update about the Grammys. Last thing I'll say, I'm going to keep the comedy world section quick this week. But last thing I'll say is I did do some research on the benefits of laughter, just because, what's going on in the comedy world. This is always going on in the comedy world. And let me break down comedy aside from humor. Anyone can be funny, and you can find humor everywhere. So you don't have to be a comedian to be funny. And any comedian that claims to have that is acting like they've got a monopoly on humor, and they don't. Humor is something that we can all share, enjoy, give, receive. Some of the funniest people we've ever met, or some of the biggest laughs we've ever had in our lives, were not from comedians, as we know. And I think it's important for comedians to remember that, to stay humble, that, yeah, we don't have a monopoly on laughter, right? I'd say God has a monopoly on laughter. Not everyone believes in God, but anyway, that's something to remember. And I wanted to talk about 7 benefits of laughter that I found through some research, and not limited to. There's much more than 7 benefits, but these are 7 legit benefits. Doesn't mean they're the best benefits, but they're benefits, like friends with benefits. So we'll start there, and I'll just go 1 through 7. So laughter lowers blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure and you watch some comedies or you get out, you have some fun, you get some laughs, it lowers blood pressure. So that is science, huh? Another thing, number 2, it reduces stress hormone levels. So laughter, like intercourse, can reduce stress, right? What else? It works the abs. And I think this is kind of a cop out benefit because you can work your abs in a lot of different ways. But hey, why not take benefits where you can, right? So it works the abs. What else? It improves cardiac health. As I'm going through these, I'm realizing laughter and sex have a lot in common because all 4 of these I feel like intercourse does too, and probably masturbation. Sorry if you're super conservative and that conflicts with your whatever. Anyway, number 5, it boosts T cells, which actually boosts your immune system, which is extremely healthy and good. So it boosts T cells, good for the immune system, helps fight off sickness. Does it prevent or help you be healthier against getting things like COVID? I don't know, but I'm gonna say maybe. I mean, the immunocompromised are the ones most susceptible to things like COVID and things, and the effects can be worse. So if you're stronger, and your immune system is working better, then perhaps it can. Perhaps coming to see me do comedy will help you prevent COVID, as long as you wear a mask. But yeah. You know how I feel about masks. I don't have a feeling, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to make anything political. All right. What I do is I put on a freaking scuba mask. You got to give it up. I saw a couple people in New York with like real legit spaceship type contraptions on their face. And I wanted to say, can we get a selfie together? But I didn't want to be rude. So, you can't really go up to a stranger wearing something like that and say, hey, can I get a selfie with you? It just doesn't seem like a nice thing to do. So, I sacrificed a nice, funny story update on my Instagram to not be a dick. You know what I mean? Which, what can I say? I'm a nice guy. All right. Another thing is comedy. And the final thing on this list is it produces a general sense of well-being. Kind of seems like a cop-out answer. But again, I do think that all 7 of those have things in common with sex, unless you're, unless your upbringing conflicts with, sex, then only laughter can give you all 7 benefits, right? So if your belief system says that sex is bad or premarital, whatever it is, then whatever. Okay, so all right, that's what's going on in the comedy world. That's my update this week. Not a lot of it other than SNL and what I just talked about, but it's good enough for me. And if it's good enough for me, then it's just going to have to be good enough for you. All right. At least on this week. And if you guys have feedback, always, reach out, laugh at michaeloldroyd.com or DM me after you follow me, and we'll go from there. So thanks for listening to that segment. Let's move on to what's going on in my comedy world. All right, guys. So for those of you on, what is this, YouTube? For those of you on YouTube, is there a way to change the camera while recording? Is there a way to change the camera whilst recording? I think there is. Is there a way to change? Let's see. I don't know if there is, guys. I don't know if there is. So because of that, I'm gonna just keep on. Uh, I'm just gonna keep on going. Hey, think about it, right? All right, so we're gonna move on to what's going on in my comedy world now. These sunglasses are starting to bother me a little bit, so let's see how this looks. All right, that's cool. Let's do that. All right, guys. So I got to hang out at the Comedy Cellar a couple nights. This last trip, I went to the Comedy Cellar. I think the comedy clubs that I went to and spent time were Comedy Cellar, um, West Side Comedy Club, Beacon Theater, which is not a comedy club, but it's where Jerry Seinfeld performed. So I saw him live. And then had some nice hangouts at the Comedy Cellar, Fat Black Pussycat, which is part of the Comedy Cellar business. So anyway, was there a couple nights, got to reconnect with some comedians. There's a guy from Mizzou who is pursuing comedy, who I ran into from there, from knowing him from years ago when we were doing some random open mics in New York. His name is David. I forget his last name off the top of my head, but it was good to see him and other familiar faces. A dude named Fenelon, who's hustling. You guys know Fen, maybe. He had his breakout hour at Caroline's like a year ago, maybe. But he's hustling. He's out in LA doing stuff. He's in New York, so he's a hustler. Good to catch up with him. Good to see Dom. We hung out. Good to see people I know that work there. Good to catch up with, make some new connections there. Got to see a show. Was invited to go hang out in the upper staircase area where the comedians hang out with during one of the shows at Fat Black Pussycat. That's a tongue twister. No pun intended. Give it the tongue tornado. All right. American Pie reference. Got to see Mike Cannon come out and kill it. Will Savins was hosting. I forget. I guess they have a show. I don't know how often. Him and they have a co-host, and they had a handful of comedians on, and an Irish comedian. That her name is. I can't even remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Anyway, she's in town, and she went right after Mike Cannon. There was a couple other comics. Mike Feeney was up. But Mike Cannon destroyed. Hilarious. I heard he's nice too to like newer comics. One of the guys that I know from here in Tampa said when he was in New York, he met Mike, and Mike let him kind of shadow him a little bit, and then gave him a chance to open for him when he was coming through and doing the Orlando Improv. So it's kind of cool to see good people doing good things, and it was cool to see him live. And good to see people hustling. Business, the more time you spend in anything, no matter what it is, the synapses or connections, whatever you want to call them, synapse being a metaphor there, but the connections are very layered, and there's like a matrix, right? In a place like the New York's comedy scene, where it's like the hub or one of the hubs of comedy and entertainment, there's a lot of interconnectedness there. So when I go back, there's a lot of connecting and reconnecting that can take place, and definitely happened for me, and I'm very thankful. So I'm at a point in my career where I don't feel embarrassed going into the Comedy Cellar or feeling like I'm not welcome there. I'm not in as in like I'm not performing there. I haven't auditioned, but I'm at a point where it's not uncomfortable for me to be there. I don't feel like I'm like an uninvited guest that's uh like kind of like I don't know how to explain it. Like when Dom first moved to New York and he kept going into 30 Rock building until they actually banned him from the building, which is awesome, by the way. My friend Dom, who I hung out with and saw him perform while we were here. We even made some sketches yesterday on my last day there. We busted out the camera, and we were doing some stuff over by NYU yesterday. Some kind of sketch type, live improv type stuff in front of his. He's got a really nice camera now, and really had fun doing that. It was a nice thing to be able to do before hopping on a plane, having a smooth ride back to New York. Down here in Florida now, it's warm. It's like 70 something degrees after going to New York, and it was like one of the coldest days and coldest weeks of the year. So great timing to go to New York. All right. But it is good to be back in sunny weather here where the grass is green and the sun is shining. So yeah, it was great to go up in the Upper West Side. I went to catch up with one of my buddies who's very supportive, and I met him when I was living in my dream apartment. He lived in our building, and we've been friends for a long time. I've even talked about him on this podcast before, but since he's not in comedy, I don't want to mention his name. I don't like to mention names too much. I don't like to name drop. I never know who wants to be associated with the public excretion of my work. So I'll not say who, but it was just great seeing a friend. You know what I mean? And had a nice meal and connected. Had a healthy meal. Sweet Green, was that the name of the place where we went in the Upper West Side? And I was walking back to the subway on 75th, and where the Beacon Theater is. Stopped in just to, the ticket office was open. I said, who's going to be here this week? And they go, Seinfeld. They go, oh, really? How much are tickets? Okay, well, I guess I'll take one, So I got the cheapest possible ticket, sit in the very back row of the Beacon Theater, way up in the rafters there. And it was great. Really glad I got to see Jerry Seinfeld live. It was my first time. It's an educational thing. And Jerry and I obviously have a lot of we have a different style in many ways, but in some ways I felt like I was able to learn a lot by immersing myself in an hour or however long he was on stage of his product and his work and current day where he is, right? With his comedy journey, which he's obviously doing tremendously well. He's selling places out and making a lot of money. The demand is pretty high for his tickets, so it's pretty cool. He's a great he's great for comedy. He's great for humanity and great for the scene of comedy. And one thing that he's always been good at is taking everyday things, like literally like a rubber band or something, and these little things that we notice, and then they just kind of go out of our subconscious minds. It's just like you notice them on a day to day. Like, what do you do with all these leftover ties? I got too many ties. I got a tie for this. I got a tie for this. Why do I need more ties? So that's like a Jerry Seinfeld-esque, type. Very cool though. I appreciate him. I appreciate him, and I appreciate what he did for New York by sticking up for it. When one of the club owners said New York is dead during the pandemic, Jerry Seinfeld called him a putz and said New York's not dead. Like, what are you going off saying bullshit like that for? Which I thought it was ridiculous that someone would put that out there in a news article when we're in the middle of the pandemic. It's like, people don't need to be hearing that right now, bro. Some people are stuck here in New York right now, and that's the last thing they need to be hearing. So fuck you for being so selfish and trying to get your name out there or something. So Jerry Seinfeld, amongst others, tried to save some of the comedy clubs and donated personal money to keep them in business during all that. So I'm a big fan. At the end of his set, he asked if anyone had any questions. So he had like a Q&A session at the end. I wanted to just scream from the back, "Do you believe in God?" I think, but I just felt like that's kind of, like it's funny and it's interesting. And I'm sure everyone would want to know. But I also felt like, that's a little bit maybe too personal to just scream from the back. But that would be my question. I'd like to know if he believes in God, Uh, so I didn't ask a question, but I did appreciate the questions that others asked. One of the people asked him about the AI thing. You remember I was talking about that last week on my podcast about this new AI stuff coming up. Someone actually asked him like his opinion on it. I can't even remember what he said. It was something like, "I don't care, Yeah, I don't care. I don't need it. I don't rely on technology." But I don't actually remember what he said. I'll be honest. I was trying to, I was in my own head going, should I ask him if he believes in God? So, anyway, I asked the guy at the ticket booth if I could open for him when I bought the tickets, and we obviously laughed. And I said, "Don't worry, I know you're not the person I asked." But his opener, though, he did have one opener, and it was funny. He had a similar style, very, very, this is me type. This is where I am in my life. Very open, and kind of like a disposition on his current day life and his dating. So felt like we got to get to know him for a little bit. I forget his name. Sorry, I haven't heard of him before, but he's like in his 60s. He's a black man, lives in LA. I don't think that really narrows it down a lot, but did a great job. So, what else, guys? Anybody horny or? So after I walked out of the Beacon Theater in the Upper West Side, which is kind of like where the Sex in the City ladies are. If that's my best. That's how I describe the Upper West Side. It's like the rich families and the like cougars that have money. That's kind of like what Upper West Side is. It's where Jim Gaffigan lives. His family goes to private school there, and Jerry Seinfeld and his family. And the Beacon Theater is right there, and there is a comedy club a few blocks away called Stand Up New York, and I know I performed there, but there's another comedy club called the West Side Comedy Club, and Dom was on that night, so it was ironic for me to walk out of the Beacon Theater into the West Side Comedy Theater after I went to Chipotle and took a dump in between, but I got to go see Dom perform and host a show. I think he was hosting the 10 o'clock show at the West Side Comedy Theater. I think he did like 22 minutes up front. And it was fun to see him do his thing live. He's been doing a lot of cruise ship comedy. So he's got more than his 10,000 hours. And I can tell you that. And it was great to catch up with him. It wasn't the first time we hung out, but it was one of the times we hung out. And good to see. I remember thinking, I watched the show. I'm not going to say who the comedians were, but before Dom hosted the 10 o'clock, I got there a little early and I saw some of the comedians from the end of the show before Dom's show. And I remember I went from Jerry Seinfeld to a guy on stage at West Side Comedy Club before the 10 o'clock and thought, wow, I just went from like top shelf, like clean Universal stuff to like dick jokes and bukkake stuff. And I was like, yeah, I need to level up with that. It was like a looking in the mirror reflection of my own self. And in a way, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to put myself down. I think I'm better than the comedian that was on stage. And I won't say who, because I never want to put anyone down. But I also will say that the comedian who went last on that show was great. And his style is fun and different. And so it was really cool. He's a Comedy Cellar comic, Nate McIntosh. You guys probably know that name. If you're a comedy connoisseur, if you're not, then you don't. But either way, he was really fun to watch. So it was after that I went, ate Chipotle. Didn't actually take a dump. Just thought it'd be funny to throw that in there because it's ridiculous. And most people do take dumps after Chipotle. Either way, went back, and that's when I saw Dom. Not that you guys give two fucks, but for some reason I feel like explaining it, and I apologize if it's annoying. So anyway, I already told you guys that Speaking of Jim Gaffigan, I'll be seeing him in Florida here in Tampa in 2 nights. Oh, by the way, I reached out to Jerry Seinfeld on his Instagram and Twitter, and I asked if I could open for him. Never heard back. Don't expect to. Didn't expect to. Not sure if that's how that works, but I also know you miss every shot you don't take, and I am wearing my Jordan jersey. So not only did I reach out to Seinfeld, but I also tried Jim Gaffigan and his wife, because apparently his wife, like helps him with administrative stuff, and I think she has a business also on the side to make sure I paint a good comprehensive picture of that, of her and him. But they're very nice. I've heard, and didn't. I guess their accounts are blocked, so you can't. I guess I have to be verified to message them, or they have to follow me in order. So I got to figure out another way to try and shoot my shot with Jim Gaffigan before Thursday. And then Friday in St. Louis, I'll be in St. Louis because it's my dad's birthday this weekend, and we're going to go see Adam Sandler. So Friday, I'll be seeing Sandler. I already shot my shot there, asking if I could open for him. I don't know if whoever checks his account saw my message yet, but, all you can do is try, guys, and I've tried. I've been making it a bigger habit to reach out to the big names when I'm in the same city when they come in and do shows. So I think in the last year, I've tried with Kevin Hart, David Spade, Adam Sandler, Nicolas Cage. I didn't, but that would be cool if he was doing a performance. I would reach out to Nicolas Cage. Jim Gaffigan, Jerry Seinfeld. Is there anyone else that I've tried? I'd like to be cool to open for Brian Regan if I could. There's a lot of people that it would be an honor to open for, and all you can do is shoot your shot. You know what I mean? Drinking a great value cream soda from Walmart, loving it. All right. What else, guys? Went to hang out with my buddy Adam Christopher, very funny guy, comedian. He's been in sketches of the Midwest Sketch Bandits before. Always enjoy working with him. He's funny, creates his own original content. He's an artist. He's a nice guy. All the good things, And he invited me to come make some content with him. So we got to get in his studio at his place in the Upper West Side, actually, too. I was excited to make something called the Top 5 with him. He's got a segment that he's been putting out there lately called the Top 5. And it's just wacky and it's fun. He taught me about his Deception Stone product. So if you guys go check out my buddy Adam Christopher, you'll probably see some of his top 5 stuff, and you'll see this thing called the Deception Stone. And it's hilarious. He basically sells a rock in a box, and he calls it the Deception Stone. And it's like $20 per stone. And it is like an NFT essentially, right? And it's just a rock that he found. And he says like every rock in the world is unique and it cannot be like recreated. So everyone has its own kind of like unique, whatever you call it. And every rock comes with a message from a comedian, a one-time joke essentially. So if that comedian becomes famous, then maybe that specific, Deception Stone will be worth a lot of money. And it's like this mind fuck if you think about it. But because he's making fun of NFTs without being mean to people who buy them, it's like you kind of want to buy one. You know what I mean? So it's like the ultimate sales tactic. And he's a good guy. So go get yourself a Deception Stone, guys. Anyway, yeah, it was cool. I got to connect with one of the people who bartends at the Comedy Cellar, and he invited me to be on his podcast. So that's freaking awesome. I don't want to throw names out there just yet until we actually do it. But he said next time I'm in New York, we could get on. Adam Christopher and I. He knows Adam, so we're gonna get on. He says he's got. It sounds like his podcast is doing really well. So it's pretty cool to meet people and connect. That's that interconnectedness that I was just talking about, right? One day I'm making stuff with Adam Christopher, and then the next day I'm meeting someone who knows Adam and likes him, and then all of a sudden it's like dude, you guys got to get on the podcast. So you guys seem like cool guys, so like just these connections are really fun. And being in a place like New York really is not better. It's a good thing to make sure that I'm incorporating into my year, so I haven't looked yet because I haven't had a chance, but I'd like to go back to New York maybe in a month for another short trip like this, do things like that podcast, make some more sketches with Dom, maybe Dom a few more chicks. But either way, yeah, I'll just kind of keep on moving forward and kind of go from there. So I told you guys I had a show Saturday night. That's why I didn't do the Saturday Night Live attempt at being an audience member there. And it was freezing that day, and the freaking trains were not working, and I was almost late for the show. It was so far out in Brooklyn. I remember thinking, is it even worth it? Like, to make the attempt to try to make it. And, I bombed because there was like no one in the audience. It was fucking freezing. And I guess being away from New York and in Florida so long, my comedy is not woke enough for like a Brooklyn super woke crowd. I think when I said that I got Pfizer in the left arm and Moderna in the right to be safe, and Johnson & Johnson up the tailpipe, that's too like red state for them. You know what I'm saying? So, because everyone's like being into vaccinated up there. So, it's interesting. It's interesting to kind of see the dynamics. But I did win them over when I said that I was glad that I didn't film the set, because I don't ever want anyone in the universe to ever see a copy of that performance. No, it wasn't that bad. It was fine. We had a good time. So, what else, guys? What the fuck else? One night when I was at the Comedy Cellar, I went to use the restroom downstairs underneath the Olive Tree Cafe, where one of their comedy rooms is, and Dave Attell was on stage. And as soon as I walked in the room, he looks at me. We make eye contact, and I'm wearing, my hair's long, and I'm wearing like a vest or whatever. And he goes, "Did somebody hire a professional piano player?" Or he said, "Did somebody hire a keyboard player?" Boom, laughter, huge laugh, erupter. Then he just fires off like 10 more rounds, ripping on me as I'm walking to the bathroom. I'll be honest, I don't remember all of it because I was slightly tipsy, but I remember when I came back out of the bathroom, the ripping continued. And then he like asked me a question and then ripped on me some more. And as I'm like, I'm laughing, by the way. I loved it. It was an honor. It was freaking awesome. We were locked in, he's looking, we're making eye contact. He's analyzing me, and he's working, just dropping nuclear bombs of humor on me. And I'm so secure in myself that it was flattering. You know what I mean? Like, I loved being, ripped on. It was, I don't take it personal. I'm a comedian. I know exactly what he's doing. And it was fantastic to be a part of it. And I remember like wanting to continue watching, and then he's making fun of me for like continuing to watch. He's like, "What's up with all these lurkers?" So and even that. So I disappeared into the abyss after that. But it was my moment with Dave Attell. I've met him once years ago. There's no way he would ever remember. And you see him all the time, hanging outside there, smoking a cigarette and whatnot. But it was special to be live in the moment. Kind of reminded me of that episode on Crashing when Pete Holmes was getting ripped on by Dave Attell. So it was endearing. It was special. It was really nice. I felt cool about it. So, and then I was walking home after that, and I was tipsy, which I don't drink much anymore, but I was tipsy. So I started just kind of hitting on girls. And I remember these two girls walked out of a bar, and I said, "Hey, I'm a comedian. You guys want a comedy show?" And they're like, yeah, we do. Come on, And I met a guy a second before that who was kind of doing the same thing. So we kind of like laughed because, it's like we're out here shooting shots, connecting on that. And then when I asked these girls if they wanted to see me do a comedy show, and they said yeah, I was like, dude, let's go. So These two girls lived across the street from down there in Greenwich Village, invited us up, right? Mind you, I met this dude that I invited with me like 14 seconds ago before I met them. Two cute girls, and they were like, "Yeah, we would never do this, but you know, you say you're a comedian, so yeah, I don't laugh." You know? Freaking invite us into their apartment as I'm walking home, and literally with three complete strangers, and two girls, me, and another dude named Daniel. That's what he claims his name was. I don't know if that's his real name, but he has bleach. He had like the Eminem hair. He's from Oregon, I guess. And there's a reason why I'm saying his name and describing his features, because what unfolded wasn't cool. All right. We're up there, we're laughing, we're having a good time. One of the girls had to use the restroom, so I was going to wait till she gets back to do a show. And then I'm making jokes in the meantime, like, "Oh, your name's Daniel? That's cool. I'm Michael." You know, I'm tipsy, so I'm like, "Yeah, you know, there's like a connection between Daniel and Michael in the Bible." You know, and one of the girls like, "Oh yeah, I'm named after, you know, Mary Magdalene because my name's Madeline." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that, you know, that Madeline is, you know, connected with Magdalene, you know? Does that mean that, you know, that another nickname for a Maddie could also be Magdi?" But either way, the girl comes back out of the bathroom. She's like excited. We're talking, you know, she's whatever. And this Daniel guy comes up to me. He's like whispering. He's like, "Hey man, I think we should go." And I just trusted him. I didn't know if like something went wrong with him and one of the girls or whatever. But I just kind of like, you know, I invite, basically these two girls wanted to hang out with me, and I let this dude come along to be nice. And I guess that my thought was he must have fucked it up and realized that this is not going to go anywhere. So he wanted to leave or something. So I walked, you know, I was like walking to the door and I'm like laughing. I'm like, "Well, what, dude, what happened?" You know, like kind of like, did you mess this up or whatever? But I wasn't going to make him feel bad if he did, but like, "What's up? What's going on?" And as we're walking out the door, he like acted like he was going to walk out and he slammed the door behind me and locked the door. Uh, so, you know, obviously, what the fuck, Daniel? You know what I'm saying? Not cool at all. I mean, not cool is an understatement, right? And uh, my only, I heard one of the girls through the door say, "What the fuck?" You know, like, I guess when she saw that he like didn't leave and I left or whatever, it was like a weird, um, um, abrupt, like didn't make sense moment. And then it just kind of got quiet. And all I can say is I just hope that the girls are okay. I assume they are or whatever, but I just hope that they're okay because what the fuck? You know what I mean? What I did was I let the doorman know, and I was like, "Hey man, I don't, you know, I know the name, I know what apartment the girls are in because you know, I saw it on the door. So I was like, you might want to just like call up there and make sure that everything's okay because there's a guy in there that you know, I'm just a little, you know, sketchy behavior can lead to other behavior patterns of sketchy behavior. So I hope that I didn't just unintentionally or accidentally assist a Ted Bundy type dude." So um, I learned a lesson there, which is next time two girls want to do a private show with me, don't help out like another dude to be nice. You know, so when I talked about how empathy is my greatest strength earlier, this is a good example of where my empathy, I hope, didn't hurt somebody else. I mean, I'm over the fact that that, you know, the night was, you know, from my perspective, you know, here I am, two girls want to hang out and, you know, see me do some comedy for them, and a dude, you know, basically creates a wedge or a cock block. I talked to a couple of girls about it afterwards, and they're like, "What an asshole! He obviously, um, you know, was jealous and, you know, wanted to like, you know, whatever." So that's what's up. So Daniel, if you're out there, man, all I can say is I forgive you, go to heaven, you know, as in my last podcast, but very not cool, man, to treat people like that. And, you know, I don't wish anything but love upon anyone, but I hope that you never, You know, I hope that Daniel doesn't uh, continue behavior like that, because I don't think that's good for his own karma, and it's not a way to treat human beings. So, and I genuinely say that. I genuinely say, I forgive you, go to heaven. So that's what I say about that. All right, what else? This is the perfect moment to act like Jim Carrey from Ace Ventura 2 when he's like, the abrasion on your left arm. All right. All right. So made a sketch with Dom yesterday before I went. Made a couple sketch slash did some different takes from different angles there outside of NYU, and had the funny epiphany. It's like, there's so many kids that pay so much money to get a film degree at NYU, but I've talked to enough of them where they get jaded and they don't want to, like, ever make film, because like it's like, oh, there's becomes this like psychological complex. It's like, oh, I'm too cool to actually try type thing. So like, here Dom and I are outside of NYU with all these film students going back and forth, paying all this money, that most of them may not actually create anything just because they're like too cool for it. Where Dom and I are not paying any money and we're making stuff. So like, the irony of it is hilarious. And part of that, the reason that we're able to do that is because we just don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? That's what stops people from creating, is caring too much about judgment, or, oh, if I try this and I fail. So I'm not discouraging any of the NYU students by saying this. What I am doing is I'm encouraging you to say, if you're not create, just fucking create. You know what I mean? The NYU degree is great if you use it to your advantage, but if you're not creating, then what is it? So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. And before I go, tonight I'm doing comedy at the Marriott. My buddy Brent Heidi, my buddy, Eric's brother, is in town, so he's about to stop by. I need to take a quick break before this next segment so that I can go let him in the building so he can roam freely like the buffalo and check out the hot chicks at this place. And then I'll join him after my final, whatever you want to call it, segment of what's going on in my world. So that's where we are. And let's talk about what's going on in my world here after the break. Hey, Brent. Sorry, I'll come get you. Which lobby are you in?
I guess the two lobbies.
I think so. Did you walk in the front where the leasing office is?
Yes.
Okay. Are you in the leasing office, or?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'll be there in 2 minutes.
Cool, man.
Okay, thanks. See you.
Bye.
Bye. My place is I just got back from New York, so I'm disoriented. Yeah.
So I'll drop this off and then.
There's also, you can either change here or there. Oh, you're already wearing it actually. So
Yeah, well, I got boxers on it, which is stupid. So I'm just gonna take those off and just wear.
Oh,
these.
yeah. There, you can either change in my bathroom or you can change. There's actually bathrooms. There's one bathroom at the pool. Whatever you.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah, whatever you want.
I'm gonna change the bathroom real quick.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
All right, cool.
Yeah, man.
They got they don't have a bar at the pool, do they?
Mm-mm.
Cocktails, I mean.
I got some stuff. Let's see.
If you don't mind, I might sing a bottle of water too.
Yeah, so I got a flask for you if you want to take it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's already ready. It's got rum in there.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
leftover from Gasparilla. If you want like a water and or like a soda like this to go with it or anything else, you know.
Okay. Yeah, the rum will work.
Okay.
Rum will work.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, man. So yeah, let's put it on there.
Here, we can actually go out this way.
Cool.
It's actually faster. So.
When did you move here?
not sure. I don't know. Oh, I actually haven't been paying close enough attention, but I'm gonna look into that now. Yeah, cool. Bye. Hey, for anyone who who's been wondering what the heck is going on,